It's gonna be a good one.
It's gonna be a good one.
Definitely a different type of process.
Cut down or freeze up.
Being a coach's son.
Jackson, of course, they keep retooling. One stolen base, a hit by pitch. Oh my goodness. Hello, everyone. Welcome inside the Red Earth Production Studios for this edition of YBMcast Baseball Talk, powered by Game 7 Baseball, game7baseball.com. Hey, you know what? It is fall ball season, and so I'm putting my team together, and the potato guns, because we mash. Do you like that, right? That's my team, and I'm kidding, though, but that's what it would be if I was putting together. I love that. That, to me, is what fall ball's about. You kind of go out, you put yourself a team together, you're getting your guys, get some extra swings in. Keep your swing going. Don't lose sight of it. If you're pitching a little bit, keep the pitch count down. Throw multiple dudes. If you have to throw a position player, go ahead and do it. It's okay. Throw them the eephus. Nobody can hit that anyway. It's like slow pitch softball. So, just if you haven't. But no, I'm kidding. I recommend go to Game 7 Baseball, game7baseball.com. Fall ball schedule is up. Get in, get some swings. Let's go. Today on the show, joined by Diego Solares, Scout Connect. He's out there running tournaments. Scout Connect has its fall ball tournaments going on. Talk to the folks about that. What's going on there, Diego?
Yeah, first one's this weekend. 15s and 16s together. It's kind of how we group it with underclass and upperclassmen. And then the 27th and 28th of September will be 17 and 18U. And then October 11th and 12th, 15s and 16s. So everything's sold out. Like, keep the tournaments pretty small, but looking forward to the first one this weekend.
Where are you guys playing, bud?
We will be kind of all over the place this weekend. Here we got the cat again, making special
I love it.
like he did the last time we did this. And we probably will continue to do so throughout the production. We'll play mostly at Triad High School and McKendree University over here in the Metro East. We will make our way over to O'Fallon Family Sports Park and Blazier Field. I think all 3 weekends. So those are kind of our main 3 or 4 sites that we use. They're all within 15 minutes of each other, so it's pretty nice and convenient.
Convenience is good, especially in the fall, man. There's a lot. I've been having this conversation with different people. I always like to have these conversations with folks. Mitch and I brought it up on his hitting. He's brought it up on his Hitting Zone podcast. But I think fall ball is an interesting thing, and especially now when you have so many multi-sport athletes. And it's okay. You can be part of the show. It's fine with me.
He's going to try. And
that's all right. We'll just let him sit there and stare at the folks. I love it. But the scope of fall ball, what's it turned into? There's a lot of proponents. There's a lot of opponents. As you're running tournaments and what you see, what's been your perspective and where do you see the landscape of this?
Yeah, I think it's different just like the summer. I think it's different for every age level. I think when you talk about the youth, like 11, 12, 13, like the actual youths, it's probably less important to me to actually play fall ball. In the sense that, like, when they're young, they play every sport imaginable. They've probably played a bunch of games, right? Like a lot of youth teams, they're playing 60, 70, 80 games in the spring and the summer. There's probably not a whole lot that you'll get out of playing 20 more in the fall. You're probably better off there's a couple clubs I've talked to in the area, whether it's in Illinois or St. Louis or Missouri up even, that they're just not going to play tournaments in the fall. They're kind of adopting the model of just scrimmaging each other a couple times a week and practicing and training and going more towards the development side. There's a club in St. Louis that runs their own league internally on the weekends. It's a Sunday league, so like they'll bring their two 14U teams, right? The red team and the white team, and they'll scrimmage each other. And then if they don't have any arms or if they don't have any multi-sport guys, they'll use a hack attack and they'll play a hack attack game. Then they bring the 15s in and the 16s and the 17s, and it's all like teaching based as opposed to playing, which is another concept that there's out there. Um, I think when you get older, like when you start to talk about the 18Us especially, right? So like for this cycle, it would be the 2026s. I think the fall probably has more of a merit from a recruiting standpoint, depending on what events you're going to, right? From a tournament standpoint and actually playing. That has even gotten bogged down though, because of how big the JUCO stuff is, right? Now, like you have all these big JUCO events that are on the weekends, and if you go to like 5 years ago, if you went to some of these fall high school tournaments, like you'd see a bunch of coaches, right? I mean, this cat is relentless.
He
You'd see a
just
bunch
wants
of
to hang
coaches.
out, man.
And now, like, if you go to like some high school events on the weekends, if they run up with these big junior college events, like you're not going to see anybody. They're all at the JUCO stuff, and so I think it kind of varies from an actual tournament standpoint. I think the fall definitely matters, especially if you're like a 2026 that like really wants to play college baseball, and like maybe you've been a football player your entire life, and football is kind of like a second thing to you, and you don't really care about it that much. Like you're probably better off just not playing football and focusing on the baseball side of it. Um, but I also think too, like one of the things that people don't really talk about, or like I haven't heard people talk about fall ball, is like if you're really interested and again, I'm just kind of sticking with the older crowd here. It's like a lot of the schools this time of year is when they do their prospect camps, like like the actual on campus like school ran camps. And to me, like the fall is a great time to go to those if you're ramped up and you're built up, because that is the only way that you are 100% guaranteeing yourself to get in front of that college, right? Like it's not guaranteed that I'll just use SIUE because it's 5 minutes from my house. It's not guaranteed that SIUE is going to come out to a Scout Connect tournament to watch games, right? There's no guarantee. Like they have to do their own stuff on the weekends. They're probably going to spend a lot of time at these junior college events that are every weekend now. And there's only 4 recruiting weekends in the fall for Division
Yeah.
One schools. And every single recruiting weekend, there's a junior college event that lines up with it, right? It's done on purpose. So, like going to these fall camps, I think is really helpful for some of these players that are really interested in the school because it will guarantee yourself to get in front of that school. And honestly, like what some of these schools are doing now is like school A will run a camp, and then that school will invite school B, school C, school D, and school E to come to their camp. So now you're getting in front of like 7 schools instead of 1 or 2, right? I think that is a thing that people should probably kind of consider more in the fall than investing in maybe playing in 6 or 7 tournaments or 20 to 25 games or whatever that number looks like.
Yeah. Because I love the perspective there because you're separating elementary, middle school from high school, which I think we should. There's that delineation once you hit high school, you, the things change. It just does.
For sure.
It's a natural progression. 8 to 14. I think that's to the discretion of the clubs, the coaches, the teams. You know, and I think the one thing that you'd said earlier, and if you've got a team, a 9U team that's already played 70 games, my goodness, I don't see why you should play fall ball. I mean, honestly, uh,
Yeah, I don't know why anybody would play 70 games to begin with.
right?
Um, But if
right?
that's what it is, like, yeah, you probably shouldn't play fall ball.
Uh, I've seen
It's
that happen. I've seen it
sure,
happen,
yeah,
and I think it still happens. And I think one of the things that when we talk about going to the fall is how fresh are the kids? Do they need a break from baseball? Do they need to just stop? It's especially if you're playing. eh, I said this the other day, and I believe this very much. I don't know what it. I think they have a mandatory game limit in high school in Illinois. I know they do. Misha has 36 is a number. You got to be that you can't go over until as far as regular season.
it's
So
35 in Illinois, I believe.
okay, so you know if you get to the playoffs, you may end up with 45 games total, winning the championship, right? Depending upon your districts. Now, Illinois, I know their playoff system's a little bit bigger, so you may end up 45 to 50. Could be, right? So when you're talking about high school maxing at about 45 games, and that's not every school, that's usually bigger schools. Smaller schools, they don't play that type of schedule because of the lack of competitive pitching. Um, they're not going to put themselves in that position. Put a kid on the mound who just can't pitch. There's no reason to do that. So they may end up at 20 to 25 games in some of the smaller class schools. And then driving the cost of those types of things, they think about all those things. Whereas with the smaller kids, as we move through the season heading to fall ball, how many games have you already played and what's the point? And I think the biggest question to me with especially that younger crowd is purpose. What's the purpose of playing fall ball?
Yeah, I think too. Like with that, there's a there's kind of two there's kind of two aspects or ways of thinking. I think that we kind of find ourselves in, at least that I've been around.
Mm-hmm.
There's the side that wants to play a bunch of games because they think like play, you're going to get better, right? And obviously, you have to play the game. You can't just be good at baseball and not play. And then there's the side that is train, and play less. Like play less games, train more, play a whole bunch of games, train less. And like to me, obviously, the common sense would be just find yourself in the middle, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like play an adequate amount of games, make sure you're getting in your training. But then, as there is with everything, there's extremes, right? There's like these two would be extremes to me. And when you're talking about a 9, 10, 11, 12, honestly, when you're talking about 14-year-old, 15-year-old, like we probably need to stick in a 40 to 50, 55, 60 is probably too much, honestly, from a playing standpoint, because then you're allowing yourself to still get the training and get the development that does matter, and you're still filling that bucket of playing the game and staying away from the two extremes.
I agree. And I think when you start looking at scheduling, you go into fall ball, if you've got a team, like I said, what's the purpose for that team? High school, I think there's a clear purpose for some of these kids, as you pointed out, with the recruiting aspect and the pieces that are there. And then there are some kids that are just trying to get in and keep developing. They're probably not maybe playing football. They're just taking the extra time to work on their swing or their fielding or whatever the case may be. Correct?
Yes, but I would probably this just again is just one person's opinion.
Mm-hmm.
I would probably tell somebody like that is not a football player that's just trying to work on something like you're probably better off playing 2 or 3 tournaments in the fall, if that which would probably equate to somewhere between 9 to 12, maybe 13, 14 games, and then spending the rest of the fall getting with a hitting guy, working out, eating right. Because if you're like trying to emphasize and work on something, like playing 25 games isn't gonna do you a whole lot after you've already played 40 to 50 games, probably with the spring and the summer. Um, Whereas on the flip side, like let's say I'm a 17-year-old, I'm a 2026, I'm 84, 88, I throw strikes, I've got a good breaking ball. Maybe I missed part of the summer because one reason or the other, and like people don't really know who I am, or I was injured, or I I want to get out in front of more people because from when July ended, I was 180 pounds, and now in September I'm 192 pounds, and my velo jumped up 3 to 4 miles an hour, and like those are tangible things that you need to improve and showcase. Like then I would tell you like, yeah, man, you probably need to get on the right team. That's probably going to Indianapolis or Kansas City or Wisconsin or whatever, and go play some games and throw your 40 45 pitches in an outing and then get after it the rest of the fall. Um, so it's two very clear like
Mhm.
differences in prospect and athlete and where two players are. And I think like being able to establish, okay, what am I? Like, where do I fit? What do I have to do? Is a great time for fall. I guess you could probably even make that argument in the summer, depending on how old you are and kind of where you're at in your development. But obviously, even though I think the summer, from a recruiting standpoint, if we're just talking about high schoolers, is going to continue to maybe get diluted a little bit, it's still very important if you're talking about getting in front of schools and getting your name out there.
Very good. I think that's important when you're talking about why you're doing something. Yeah, I heard you guys talking. You were on recently here with on the Keep Climbing podcast with Brett Graves, and the word, and I've heard him say it a lot. I think you guys talked about it quite a bit on the show. Is intentional, being intentional in what you do and how you do it, and so this has that same scope of intentionality. Do you think some of these athletes really understand that thought process at this point?
No, no, I think I I obviously it doesn't apply to everybody, right?
Mm-hmm.
But I just think sometimes people, like in general, like not even baseball wise, we just do things to do them. We don't really know why we're doing it. And I think kind of when you don't have a plan, you don't have an attack, you don't like the word intentional. You don't have an intention behind what you're doing in anything in life. Like you're probably not going fully in the right direction. And then when you apply that to sport and baseball and development and training, like if I'm just doing something to do it, like if I just go and grab a bat and a bucket of baseballs and drive up to the sports bar 10 minutes down the road and start swinging, like I don't like. I probably honestly there's a chance I'm doing more bad than good for me as a player because like if you just do something, and you're not doing it correctly or how you're supposed to be doing it, you create a bad habit, and that's like the hardest thing to break in all things. So no, I whether it's like the fact that these are 15, 16, 17, and 18-year olds and they just don't know, like they just have no idea, or they're not around the right people to tell them like, hey, do this way because of this, like the explanation and reason and video and whatever. I think that's something that like when you see the high school programs, the travel programs, the junior colleges, the college programs, like that all have success, I can guarantee you it's because they do things with intent and constantly stress that to whoever's in that circle.
We have a lot of changes within the scope of, and I think what you brought up about the junior colleges and the way they're setting themselves up in the fall is a direct result of the new recruiting rules, how things are happening, the whole process of those types of things. Do you think that will continue to change the landscape of what we call fall ball over the next 3 years?
I think so because until like everybody, like, and when I say everybody, I mean everybody in the NCAA, like Division One, Division Two, whatever. Like until they can all figure out what's going on. Like if you talk to some college coaches right now, like none of them have any idea what is going on. Like okay, we have a 34-man roster, but like there's like these tags, I guess, that people can get applied a tag and they can be on the team, but they don't count towards the roster. But like nobody knows how many people they can use that on or what that looks like. And then like you have the transfer portal, and it's all just kind of like one big unknown for everybody. Until that stuff can all get figured out, I think just again one person's opinion, what will continue to happen is the recruiting standpoint in the summer from June, from like right now, most summer teams like high school summer teams are starting their play like that first weekend of June, right? While the high school playoffs are still going on. And like they play all through June, and they have these major events. Um, and like obviously there's still some college coach attendance at some of the major events, right? But like most of the time for those schools when their season ends, they're spending it watching college leagues, whether it's the Prospect League, the Northwoods, whatever league it is, because all those college kids are in the transfer portal, and that's where they go out and they play, right? And then the portal closes, and you start to see way less schools at the college games, and then they focus on the high school stuff. And that typically happens, at least when I saw this summer, was in July. So now, like these schools, like some of these schools, like you talk to some of these schools, they started their 26s, so this senior class, like for the most part, like actively recruiting them and going after them and getting on visits and getting on phone calls, like in July. And when that happens, that means that that school sees that player less because they're not really going to see them a whole lot during the high school season. They may, if they have an off day or a midweek is off or whatever, like they can send somebody to go see it. But in the spring season, like these schools are playing, right? So they're not recruiting a whole lot. And now, like you take the summer, you take the two main summer months, June and July, and you cut that in half to mostly July, aside from a couple events here and there in June, right? And like now, we've only seen these players here. So we got to see them more. Like for me to be really in on somebody, I have to see it 2, 3, 4, 5 times. Like, and with the roster limits, like the schools get pickier with who we take. If we're going to take a high schooler, like we got to be 100% certain that's our guy. Because if we miss, like our margin for error to miss is way smaller. So now that takes you directly into the fall, in my opinion. And it just makes the fall probably, at least what I think, in the next couple of years for 17 and 18-year-olds, like the juniors and seniors, that much more important. And that may not necessarily be from a tournament standpoint because of what we talked about earlier, where it's like all these JUCO events line up with each other. So like it's going to be hard to get those schools to go away from the junior college events when the junior college events are getting better and better and better every year. So that's where I think like showcases and camps and stuff like that, and being around the right people and being surrounded by the right people that have connections and have relationships with schools, that's going to make the fall important from that standpoint. I do think though, like there is a chance that the actual playing of games and actual playing of tournaments in the fall could be devalued from a recruiting standpoint because I just don't think you're going to see that many schools out.
Speaking of Prospect League next week, this is a great segue. Thank you very much there, Diego. Did it without even realizing it. But we reached out to David Brower. David Brower is the commissioner of the Prospect League. He's going to be on the show next week right here with Diego and I talking baseball. I think that to me that's a conversation I'm looking forward to. I don't know much about the prospect leagues, and I'm interested in hearing, how these things run, how they keep those things in motion, and what their perspective is on the whole landscape of baseball. I think it's an interesting conversation.
Sure. Yeah, for sure. I mean, it's only probably obviously the local team we have here in this area is the O'Fallon Hoots and the
Mm-hmm.
Alton River Dragons. And
Don't they
those
have
players
Cape Cod too?
Yeah, down in SEMO. Yeah.
Yeah.
But like those players interchange here and there, but like you'll see some good names that come through the prospect league. Like the Springfield Lucky Shoes is a one up in Springfield, Illinois that has a ton of history behind it. Like I just think that like the more the portal gets bigger and the more that people are transferring or getting cut, and they have to go out and play, those leagues are only going to benefit from it. Whether it's right or wrong, obviously, like a bunch of kids getting cut and having to go grind it out in 100-degree weather in June and July sucks. But it is what it is. Like that's the world we live in. So
Hey, but if you want to play, if you want to earn it, sometimes that's what it takes, right? I
yeah,
don't think that personally. To me, that doesn't suck. That's just part of the process. Sometime, I think sometimes we've, and this is where I think, as we're talking about some of these things, Diego, from 8U to 14U, parents are paying, and we get into this idea that I'm going to play. We've been on a team, I'm playing. Good, bad, or indifferent, I'm playing because I'm part of the club. I paid to play and whatnot. And I think we've lost a little bit of that grind mentality because of it, and working to earn my spot, for lack of a better way
Yeah,
to put it.
yeah, yeah. I I don't have a whole lot of experience in the youth world, like just being around it. But I think if you are attacking youth baseball and like 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, like 8 to 14 or 9 to 14 or whatever, like if you're attacking it with the mindset of playing matters a whole lot, um, you're probably looking at it incorrectly, in my opinion. Obviously, you have to play, right? Like you can't
Sure.
just be good at the sport and not play. But you should be thinking about like development, and that word gets thrown around a lot, and I think like it's probably overused by some people, in my opinion. But like getting around the right people that are going to teach you to play the game, because like it's real hard to be good at baseball when you're 16 and 17. If like when you're 12 and 13, you don't know how to play the game. Like it only gets harder as you get older, right? Um, and I think like I see that mentality that you just talked about of like kind of grinding to earn your spot and I'm paying to play, I'm not paying to develop. I think that is the foundation for if you talk to any college coach in America right now that's been coaching for 10 plus years, they will all tell you the same thing that the players today are more talented, more physical, more athletic, more toolsy than they were 25 years ago. But they're not better baseball players. Like they don't line up the right way on double cuts. They don't like when a guy's got a huge lead at first base and has second base stolen, and you don't have two strikes. Like they don't auto take. Um, they don't know where to be on the right plays. They can't field a bunt and throw it to first base. That's a common theme. Like anybody I talk to says it, and I think that mentality that you kind of describe is one of the driving factors for it. There's a lot of them, but kind of this thing where we don't emphasize like actually figuring out how to play the game of baseball because in its simplicity, like it's not an easy game, but it's a pretty simple game. Like you just pick the ball up and throw it to a glove, and you play defense. And when the ball's thrown at you, like you hit it. Obviously, it's way harder to do it than just saying it, but the concept of the game is fairly easy. The execution is not, obviously,
Obviously.
and I think we kind of lose that a little bit.
And this is why, we call youth baseball Midwest, and I put everything in that scope. And I differentiate it by elementary, middle, and high school because a 16-year-old kid, even though we don't like to think it, is still a youth.
Yeah,
That's it. That's why it's youth baseball, because you're looking at all the different factors. You have that elementary, that 8U through 11U. You get into middle school, you're 12, 13, 14. The thought process and breaking it down to where are you that 8 to 11, 8 to 12, you know, should be fun. Keep it within a framework. That development word that we said, the D word, you know. But you come back to that, and that should be the focus of that, not necessarily. And earning, start teaching the kids how to earn, grind a little bit. You got to work for this. Mom and dad aren't paying for you to play; they're paying for you to learn the game of baseball. And what you earn is your playing time. And I say that a lot, and I hope that starts taking a little more effect, especially at that 9, 10, 11, even 12, because we talk about these things. Earn your spot. Maybe put your roster up at 12. Save some arms. You got 10 kids. Well, all my kids can pitch. No, no, they can't. I know because I've seen it.
yeah, you can't play. You can't play. And by the way, like the fact that like some places like we're playing 3 games in a day or 4 games in a day at
Mm-hmm.
11 and 12U. It's really it's really bad. Like that's really bad. But like you can't play a 5, 6 game tournament at any age level with like 11 guys. You can't do it. Like
No.
that would mean that somebody's throwing 90 pitches one day and 2 days later, like 48 hours later, it's pitching again, and that's why everybody's elbow is getting shredded. Probably
Yeah.
it's probably has to do with that, and it's not even the pitching thing. Like it's probably like the guy that is your Thursday starter at a tournament or whatever is your best guy, right? Your best guy when you're younger usually plays shortstop or center
Mm-hmm.
field or whatnot. So like that guy's going to throw like 90 pitches and then go play short. And I've heard people say like, oh, he only threw 60 pitches and then bounces back 2 days later to pitch again. Well, it's like I don't know, man. 60 pitches for an 11-year-old is a lot. And it's not 60 pitches; it's 60 pitches, but like it's the bullpen, it's the warm ups. Like you're telling me that kid that threw 60 pitches one day didn't play catch the next day and didn't play shortstop because if you've got 10 guys or 11 guys, like you have to. Like who's going to play? So that to me, it's honestly one. It's kind of sad that sometimes we play like 3 or 4 games in a day at 11 and 12 years old, or 10 years old, or whatever. Even at 17 years old, that's kind of crazy. And two, I mean, we should be carrying like 13, 14 kids on a roster. And going in it, like the problem with that is like it's going to be real hard to get 13 or 14 different families to buy into that, and understand that I'm probably not going to play every single game and get 200 at bats. But in the end, like if you look at it from a long term view, it's the best thing you could possibly do from a health
Absolutely.
standpoint. Um, and I think that is like we could sit here and talk about this for an hour. And I think if you ask some people, they'll tell you that like the reason kids are getting hurt more is because of driveline or plyo balls or this and that. And I'm not going to say that's not a driving factor, but I would venture to say if we did like a pie chart, the biggest part of it is overuse when they're young, because their body's just not meant to handle that.
I agree. I agree with that. And like I said, the science, and you see some of these things, you start talking about that stuff. And I go back to this. I've said it on the show. Shout out to Gonzo Gonzalez from Mac and Sites, who
You
dropped
know,
the knot.
he was my pitching coach in college for a semester.
Is that right?
Yeah, at Carthage College in 2018. I left after a semester, but he was my pitching coach. San Diego guy, big Padre guy.
Yes. Yes, he
Gonzo
is.
is.
I
Yeah.
like. I got to get him back. We got to get him back on the show and chat up some baseball, dude. Because I haven't talked to him in a while. I really like Gonzo. I think he's a down to earth guy. He understands it. And he told me, he dropped that knowledge on me. I about fell over. I'm like, wait, what'd you just say? He goes, yeah, your tendons don't fully develop till you're 26.
Yeah.
And that blew me away. And to your point right there, so how are we stepping back as intentional coaches, family members, and take that and like I said, people go, well, Brian, hey, this isn't necessarily, the opinions of our sponsors and things of that. And Game 7 Baseball, I got a great partnership with Game 7 Baseball. Love Game 7 Baseball. I think they do it right. I don't see teams playing 3 and 4 games in a day. Uh, they don't set up their tournaments that way. I just, but does that make them, the grant? No. And are we here with tournament baseball? Is it going to stick around? Probably so. You know, we'll see how the pendulums go and whatnot. But and we go out and we have a good time with it. I want to enjoy that, and we talk to the kids. We do that, but I want to see. I would love to see some changes as far as rosters. I think you'd still be fine. I think we need to, as you said, I love that 13, 14 kids on a roster. Take a day off. You just put your kid on the mound and let him pitch, and then, hey, learn how to chart some pitches.
Yeah.
Keep a
Yeah.
scorebook. Don't do it in Game Changer. Grab the scorebook and keep the score and keep engaged in the game. teach these kids what baseball is about and the scoring part of it, the aspect. What's an error? When are you going to give a guy an error? What
Sure.
does that look like?
Yeah.
And I think some of these things kind of get lost. We used to do that. You were in the dugout, you saw that, and you see kids. Now, is a 9-year-old going to be able to keep score? Probably not. But you could sit there with him and talk to him, and say, hey, you're keeping score with coach today. Okay. What's that? And talk to the kids. Keep that presence there. And, in some of these, you see one dad in there, and it's just like the kids are, throwing Gatorade all over each other, and sunflower seeds are flying. It can be a difficult process, but I think there's a lot of aspects, that lead into what we're doing and why we do fall ball that could be, a little bit different, especially at the 9 through 14U range. Why are we doing it? Being intentional about how we're doing those things. That's just my thoughts to it.
Yeah, for sure.
Absolutely.
For sure.
But Diego, I appreciate the time, buddy.
You got it. Appreciate you having me.
Oh, no. Always. Next week, Diego will be back. We're going to keep going with these things. We're going to build this process, have this conversation. I am looking forward to the David Brower conversation, commissioner from the Prospect League. He'll be joining us next week with Diego and I on the show right here on Youth Baseball Midwest. Please, if you like it, subscribe, hit the like button, share it out with your friends. That's always helpful. It really is. We do appreciate it. And Diego, tell the folks where they can follow you.
Scout Connect BB on all the socials. Scout connect.org on the website. Brand new website just got done. Total remake, total overhaul. It's pretty cool. So check it out.
I have not checked it out yet. I know you said you were doing that, so I will do that as soon as we're done here. I'm going to go on and bring it up and check it out.
Sweet.
There you go, folks. Thanks for tuning in. Everybody, have a great day in the Lord. All you pitchers. Diego?
Throw strikes, man.
Oh, I got to get in one last thing here before we go. So who's winning the West?
Not the Padres. Oh, God, not even close. No. I have never, even when the Padres were tied for first place, I think there might have even been a point they were a game up.
They were?
Never not for 1 second did I think they were going to win the West. Not for 1 second.
As bad as the Padres and Dodgers have been playing, I'm like, are the Giants going to come out of nowhere and take the West?
2 games out. No, they won't take the West.
Oh,
I
man.
think the Giants will, the Dodgers and the Giants play 7 games against each other in the next 2 weeks. I think that will put the Giants to bed. But yeah, I'm almost 100% certain the Dodgers will win the National League West. I don't think they'll get a first round bye though.
No.
I think they'll have to play the Mets, or even San Diego in the first round.
Yeah, which, oh boy, I personally, I would love to see the Padres and Dodgers play
I'm
in
good.
the playoffs.
I don't need to see that again.
I think it's fun. Oh, I got
again.
Next time,
past it actually.
Next time you're in the studio, I'll make sure I bring it. I got a baseball card for you. You'll like it.
Okay.
So, folks,
is it an Adrian Gonzalez Dodgers card? Because that would really ruin my mood.
No. It's a Padres card. It's
okay.
You'll like it. You will like. I'm not that cruel.
Okay, that was my guy when I was growing up. So
he was a dude, man. People don't think about that. I loved Adrian.
We got PV on the wall right here. We got Hoffman on the wall right here. But Adrian Gonzalez ruined me. So
wow, you never saw the Padres in a World Series, have you?
No, I was born in 2000.
Yeah, because their last one was what,
98.
98. That's right, against the Yankees. Yeah.
84,
I remember that.
98.
Yeah, I remember that 84. I was rooting for them because I didn't want Detroit to win, but good pull out because I like Steve Garvey, of course, the old Dodger, and so I was like, I think Dave Winfield was still on the team.
He was. Yep. Goose Gossage, Tony Gwynn,
Gosh,
boys.
that was a fantastic baseball team. That was a fantastic baseball team. So, folks, we could go on forever, but we're not. Thanks for tuning in. We'll see you next time.